responsibility in a changing landscape, let me begin with some opening remarks. We all understand that this evolving media environment, from traditional print to the explosion of digital and social platforms, is a global phenomenon, as we witness a radical shift in how people consume information, how this is shaping public opinion, governance, and social harmony in ways that we could not have imagined a generation ago. This has also made the role of ethics in media more critical than ever. As indigenous people, all of us, rooted in our oral traditions, trusting what we are told by the custodians of information in our society has been our way of living, because as a people, that is how we survived. But now this changing landscape of digital age and digital media, we find ourselves in a very precarious zone. Our oral traditions that we have received for generations of our preserved knowledge, history, and values, it's been going on for generations. And as a culture, we have a trust reflex to, trust the stories that has been narrated by our elders or people who are responsible in the community. Yet it is precisely this strength that makes societies vulnerable when fake news arrives with a facade of authenticity. This information cloaked in familiar tones of authority and then the appearance of credibility. So in doing so, it slips past our filters of trust, making it harder for us to tell what is fact and what is fabrication. Adding to this, we all now live in an algorithm curated space where, we are fed with only what we want to hear and what we want to see. And this is creating something called the echo chambers that fuels deeper polarization and sharper divisions. I also want to say that our exposure as a society in Nagaland to mass media has been far shorter than elsewhere. For decades, our villages, and small towns in Nagaland, we've only relied on entirely on radio. I say this because later on came TV and print media, but this largely catered to the English-speaking demographic and urban elite. Even today, many villages and small towns have no access to newspapers. And vernacular print is still nascent because, majority of the population have not had access to reading print news in their own languages. Though I agree there are some, like Mogokchung or Kohima, they may have had vernacular print for many decades. So critical reading and analysis remains limited in our society. But today, while most households in our villages may not own a television, almost every person now owns a mobile phone, even in the remotest corner of our state. And they can access social media, at the very least YouTube. This is liberating. For the first time, everyone has an equal footing to access information and news. But it's also fraught with danger. The risk is that along with genuine information, misinformation and propaganda now travels just as quickly, blurring the lines between truth and falsehood. Research also shows that societies in regions with a long reading culture are often more resilient to misinformation. So for example, states like Kerala, with over a century of vernacular newspaper, have nurtured habits of questioning and debate. Countries like Finland has media literacy in schools from a very early age, helping citizens identify bias and disinformation. By contrast, in Nagaland, our journey has been different. We have sort of leapt directly from radio to YouTube and WhatsApp University. I'll go straight to the point, coming to the topic, media ethics and responsibility in a changing landscape. Now, this is a very important issue. In fact, now it's a boiling issue. This is just an opening that I would like to tell everybody. In the most recent, just a few months only, it has boiled down to quite a big chaotic stir across Nagaland, of course even across the world. And we have, just like our moderator has mentioned in her opening remarks, that we have moved from an era of curated news from few trusted newspapers, I would say, and also then we've gone to this big storm of transformation in overnight. just overnight in Nagaland, and this is a very big transformation, and now everyone is a content creator, everyone has a smartphone, just like our moderator has mentioned, and this is a very powerful broadcasting tool, just one smartphone. And this connectivity, it brings this power to somebody's hand. Anybody has this power now. And the power to inform, mobilize, and also to give a voice. This is the power that you have. And there's this saying also, of course, everybody knows that with great power comes great responsibility. It's a very cliche saying as well, but it is very true. With great power comes great responsibility, and this tool, the smartphone that anybody has. I'm going to start with a smartphone. It's a very powerful tool. Now, this tool, this connection that we have with this power brings Nagaland to layers of challenges, I would say. And since we are a community, I'm going to be speaking in context to Nagaland since my career has spanned more than 15 years in the media, in the journalism field, reporting for more than 15 years. So I'm just going to be speaking in the context of Nagaland. So now, this WhatsApp groups, like our moderator has mentioned, and all the social media platforms and feeds that come to us daily, 24 hours, this not only accelerates information, but also misinformation at a very fast pace. So, at the same time, we are doing this while battling common constraints as well. Few constraints are there that will stop us also. So we need to understand and differentiate these constraints. So in this new landscape, our ethical compass, whatever we have with us, is not just something of the past now, but even more so today. It has to be inculcated, and it is a very critical tool now that we must have for the future. And we need to do this right now. Everybody, like I said, has a smartphone, and now this is a very critical tool that we need right now to have. Ethical, this compass has to be for the positive, and it cannot be, after doing the deed, after reporting, or after, spreading information or misinformation. It should not be an afterthought. The ethics, this is what I feel. And this is just my opening remarks right now, and I hope to have a very fruitful discussion with my fellow panelists as well, and open to any of your questions today. Thank you.
Thanks to Morung Express for inviting me as to be part of the panel discussion. And we're humans, we can't help but compare. Compared to our two co-panelists, they're well-experienced media personalities in Nagaland. Well, I started venturing into media since the last, about 3 years ago, and still I'm a baby when it comes to this field. But I believe I have a strong vision and passion in the media field. And I want to confess that I'm not from a media background. I did not study journalism or any sort of a mass communication course. But the passion came because I saw human suffering. And when I realized how to resolve this human suffering, I see dialogue and discussion as one of the strongest means to resolve this human suffering together. So that's how I started venturing into the field of media. And I would like to give you a context, because I strongly believe in the power of context. When we don't have a context, anything that we see as truth are normally, we conceive it our perception is subject to misinterpretation. So for me, context is very important. Once upon a time, I would say it's not a fiction. In the 1980s, there were two reporters from the New York Times, Nicholas Kristof and Cheryl. They were in rural China in the 1980s, during the time when China imposed a very harsh one-child policy. While they were reporting from rural China, what they saw was a baby girl just thrown, or just this dumped on the roadside, by the roadside. And it really made me think how they responded to such incident, to such event. Imagine that happened in Nagaland. I can just imagine anyone just picking up the phone, recording the video and shouting everywhere, hey, there's a baby girl here. This is unethical, this is not right, this is not human. Whoever does this, whoever has done this should be punished immediately. And I could imagine the scene just spiraling out with no restraint. But you know what, these two reporters, what they did? After all, they were Pulitzer-winning reporters. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Pulitzer Prize-winning reporters. So what they did, they tried to understand the context. Why the babies were thrown on the roadside, by the roadside like this, with no compassion for a human baby. Media or journalists should be a moral compass without a needle. What does it mean? Like we all should become the moral compass in our society as well, but without a needle. Without a needle, what I mean by that? Without a needle, we don't have to be pressured by or any sort of clickbaits or any sort of propaganda and agenda. So be a moral compass, but don't have that needle, so that you would not go wherever you are pressured, because the needle will go wherever it is pressured, wherever it is directed to. And the media should play a role as an interpreter and translator of human suffering. I believe in that. And I did not venture into media wanting to report events or wanting to do some discussion, but I believe that through discussion and dialogue, if only we can alleviate human suffering. That includes our local context, like the suffering that people are going through in Nagaland, for instance. The suffering that we as minority, in religious term, or in social term, or even in political term, the suffering that comes along with being a minority is huge. So I started venturing in the media, how can we alleviate those suffering? I think the purpose, the only solution is to educate people, educate each other, and when we learn something about the nature of the struggles that we're going through, then we will take action individually and also collectively. And that's how we resolve the issue together. That's what I strongly believe, and I'm still believing in that, and I hope we can make a media ethics and responsibility in a changing landscape a powerful thing to discuss, a powerful thing to pay attention to. Not just a cliche for the sake of discussion, but something that we all hold on to and live a life with that. And I believe that a lot of you are from media background also, and mass communication background, and some of you may not be also. But as responsible citizens, we have phone in our hand, internet in our hand. I strongly also believe in the idea of citizen journalism. And by that, you don't have to randomly pick up phone and report. Analyze it, see from the two sides of the story, and present it to the public. And let public be the judge of what's happening. So our duty is mostly to present the facts and the truth after analyzing it from every angle. If I were to rush in getting to report the thing, then there is high chance of making a mistake or leaving out the core truth of the matter behind. So it's a very serious business. I believe it's a very, very sacred platform that we are all treading upon. So I wish and I want to encourage all of us to be mindful of the context and to know how to interpret certain events at the right time and for the right purpose. Thank you so much.
Today's topic has already been given. I want to frame the issue into some questions. As we all understand, the advent of technology has democratized how news are being presented or how contents are being given to the people. At the same time, this also raised a lot of ethical issues that the previous speaker has already stated before. So, without going into the background, I just want to frame the issue into maybe around 4 or 3 sets of questions. The first one is, who am I? Who am I? That is, media as we are we looking at oneself and demanding transparency, or are we transparent as we demand transparency from others? That is a first important question. This is very important because, as we all know, today there are each day new news outlet and digital outlet is coming up in Nagaland, and it is same everywhere. Now, if we look at how this channel or news outlet operates, it's more like they mainly operate on social media as well as on YouTube channels, right? And if we go and search about who are the people behind those, I think there is no clear website. No clear website will be there, or they don't have. We don't know who is behind the stories or outlets. And this is not restricted to just new digital media outlet. Even the established press media also suffers from this. If you look at, many of you are students of mass communication, and you must have taken this in your classes. Is that, have you ever checked whether each newspaper in Nagaland has a clear philosophical objective, or about a section, or a section where they inform about who the editor is, or who are the people behind the news that is being produced each day. In recent times, like the police incidents or different kinds of videos that is being shared on social media, we tend to carry this as news without as a direct allegation, not through sensitization and other aspect. Secondly, in relation with what we are doing is also another thing is that the issue of privacy invasion and intrusion and soft targeting has become a very big issue. We have seen many news outlets going into people's compound, or ambushing people on the street, asking different types of questions. So, as media, what are we doing? Are we doing the ethical thing by following by disregarding privacy of others? So these are some questions that we need to ask. With due respect to my co-panelists, there is also a gray zone between what media practitioner and journalists. So now everyone with a smartphone is a media practitioner, I should say. However, what comes with this is that often the minimal ethical concerns about accuracy, fairness, neutrality, objectivity, all this sometimes goes out of the window, and we are left with this gray zone. So it should be stressed that all journalists are media practitioner, but not all media practitioner can be a journalist. Right? And lastly, in relation to what we do, there is also lately there has been allegation of paid news, or money for coverage, or paid content, right? And also due to different ethical concern, the press policy in Nagaland is also a little bit of fragmented. We will discuss in the Q&A session of possible way forward, but my own conclusion, my own thing is that we have to separate opinion and reporting, fact versus opinion. Secondly, we have to adopt a shared standard. between the press, the media, the digital, different platforms. Number three, we have to return to the fundamentals, that is, accuracy, fairness, accountability, and most importantly, minimizing harm. Right? How do we report responsibly? Is very important, which comes along with the contextualization and the responsible journalism. This is very important because we are living in a context, in a very conflict areas, as well as in a very close-knit society. What we do, what we publish has a big impact. So these are some of the issues and my preliminary comments. Thank you.